So who was Barsine?
Technically, she was a princess of the Persian Empire. Her father was Artabazus, who was a satrap in the Persian Empire. He was the son of a Parme, who in turn was the daughter of Artaxerxes II, a former king of the Persian Empire. Artabazus was satrap of Phrygia in northwestern Turkey, a Greek part of the Persian Empire at that time. He was friendly with a family of Rhodian mercenary generals, and one of these, a chap called Mentor, married Barsine and had children with her. After Mentor died, Memnon, his brother, married Barsine. Then Memnon became the commander of the Persian armies and fleets sent against Alexander when he first invaded the Persian Empire. Barsine is particularly famous in the sources for her stunning beauty.
Is it true that she knew Alexander when they were both children?
Well, her father Artabazus fell out with the great king for a while, and until 349 BC he was in exile at the court of King Philip, Alexander's father. At that time Alexander was 7 years old. It's quite likely that Artabazus had his family with him for their protection, so there's every chance that Alexander and Barsine met at that time.
When did Barsine become Alexander's mistress?
Well, after the Battle of Issus in 333 BC, Parmenion, Alexander's general, captured the Persian baggage train at Damascus, and with it was some of the Persian royal ladies, including Barsine. Then, on Parmenion's advice, Alexander made Barsine his mistress. She was particularly suitable because of her Greek upbringing.
Why didn't Alexander marry her?
Well, she had these former marriages and offspring by them who could have become rivals for the throne to any younger son, but also it doesn't seem to have been an affair of the heart, more a practical matter of convenience to the two sides, so it wasn't really a matter of marriage.
Did Barsine have any children by Alexander?
Just one that we know of, a chap called Heracles. He seems to have been conceived in about 328 BC during Alexander's Bactrian campaigns. Shortly afterwards, we know that Artabazus left Alexander's court and returned to Pergamon in his old satrapy. It's quite likely he took Barsine with him. We know that shortly afterwards Alexander fell in love with Roxanne and married her, so that's a possible explanation for what was happening.
What happened to Heracles and Barsine when Alexander died?
Well, in the first instance, just after Alexander's death, Nearchus, Alexander's admiral, he had married a daughter, another daughter of Barsine, and by one of the Rhodian generals, and his idea was that Heracles should have at least a share in the running of the empire, in the rule of the empire. However, the Macedonian troops and these other senior officers didn't like the idea because Heracles was half Persian and he was also illegitimate, so nothing came of it at that time. Subsequently, Alexander's son by Roxanne, Alexander IV, became the notional legitimate king of the empire, and whilst he lived, Heracles lived quietly at Pergamon as far as we can tell. However, in about 310 BC he was murdered by Cassander, and at that point Heracles becomes much more politically important, and another general called Polyperchon tried to put him on the throne, and he moved against Cassander, and this map here we can see he moved up from an area under his control in the Peloponnese through Aetolia and Epirus, and he had been born in this area. In this area he met up with Cassander's army, and Cassander bribed him to murder Heracles, and basically Polyperchon invited Heracles to dinner, and after he'd finished his dinner he had him strangled.
Do we know where Heracles was buried?
No, we don't, but there has been some interesting new information on that recently. A year ago, Greek archaeologists dug up this huge copper pot that we're looking down into here in Aigai in Macedonia. Here it's partly filled with water and there's some tree roots in it, but you can see down the centre this is the glint of a golden wreath that lay over another vessel which contained the bones of a teenage boy, and they've proposed that this find in the marketplace at Aigai could possibly be the tomb of Heracles, Alexander's lost son.
Some people say that Heracles was an imposter.
Well, that's a view that's particularly been promulgated by W.W. Tarn. He's tried to argue away the account in Curtius of how Nearchus raised the possibility of Heracles becoming king just after Alexander's death. But in fact, in the same period, which is 13 years before Heracles tried to actually take the throne under Polyperchon, at that point we know that two other sources, Cornelius Nepos and Strabo, both speak of Alexander's children, i.e. plural, and the only other child that we know of is Heracles, apart from Alexander IV.
Where can I find out more about Heracles and Barsine?
Well, there's a chapter on them in my book, Alexander's Lovers, or you can find more information on my website, www.alexanderslovers.com.
Thank you.